Hello and welcome to another week of Soap Secrets. Victoria Wilson is joining me to talk all things Holby. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Hannah.
Okay, should we start with Ollie? Because he's in turmoil this week, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be sort of the order of the day. It's been the order of the day since he's been back. We are getting turmoil Ollie. That's what we're getting, and I think that definitely continues this week. So obviously we know he's back in the fold, and he's sort of in this episode. He's really proving he's like a force to be reckoned with, as he's sort of busy diagnosing patients left, right, and centre on AAU. But obviously he's still battling his brain injury after being shot in the head, and he hasn't performed any operations until now. So yeah, that all looks set to change when Ollie and Hanson, right, let me get this right, Ollie and Hanson's old friend Russ, his 16-year-old daughter Billy is brought in. And she's basically got the, sorry if you're eating, folks, she's got the branch of a tree stuck in her neck.
Oh, I feel sick and I'm not eating.
So Ollie shows he can sort of handle the complicated case, and when Billy's condition sort of she deteriorates quite rapidly, and she needs urgent surgery, Hanson, he sort of sees how Ollie's dealing with it, and he's like, yeah, okay, you can observe Ange in theatre. This whole thing is obviously about Hanson sort of being his mentor and what have you. So they're in theatre with Billy. It seems to be going well. That is until new mum Ange has a personal crisis, shall we say, and it basically falls to Ollie to finish the job. We can tell though that he's not completely firing on all cylinders, as it seems that sort of every banging door and the sort of rattling of hospital equipment seems to sort of bring sort of back memories of the time he was shot, that sort of flashback thing. So he kind of freaks out and runs from surgery. So Hanson's kind of forced to step in and sort of finish up. So outside, Hanson, he kind of apologises to Ollie he sort of blames himself, really. He apologises to Ollie for sort of throwing him in at the deep end when he clearly wasn't ready. But we sort of get an idea that there is more to Ollie's trauma, and not just.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
There always is, there's that sort of. There's always a question mark with these things, why are you really back?
Yeah, exactly. There's got to be a reason.
Yeah, so so he sort of Ollie. We see Ollie kind of desperately wanting to tell Hanson the truth about why he was so hesitant in theatre, but then Russ stops him. So there's clearly a bit more than going on here with Russ and how he came to bring Ollie back to Hanson and all of this, and then there's a very telling scene between Ollie and Russ, and Ollie sort of says something like, next time someone could get hurt again, because he's worried. Obviously he could have, there's this conversation that I could have killed Billy, and next time someone will get hurt again. So they're clearly hiding something. So it would be interesting to see how this one pans out.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a big storyline, I would think, and one that they focus on.
Yeah. Ollie is a really popular character. I mean, Twitter just completely went off when James Anderson came back into the role. He's always been a popular boy. And so our guess is that if they have brought him back, it's for some fairly significant reason.
And also this week we have been focusing on Josh for a while, but Josh is back in the fray really, because there's the climate conference in Glasgow. And it kind of that I think there's a competition, isn't there, for the patients to create a poster that reflects Holby's commitment to green issues, and then in turn it turns into a storyline about Josh.
Right, so yeah, you're right. It's the COP26 climate conference, and it's to start off with. It almost starts as a kind of war of the wards, All of Darwin, Keller, AAU, all competing to create, as you say, this poster that reflects kind of Holby's commitment to the sort of climate change, campaigning against the climate change crisis. In the midst of all this, a young boy, Sam, he comes in for cancer treatment. He's celebrating his 11th birthday.
Oh my God, this makes me so sad.
Yeah, he's a really keen campaigner against climate change, and Josh actually ends up thinking he would be the perfect person to create Darwin's poster. He's very well informed. He's got his little COP26 hat. It is so sweet. So sort of Sam's mum, Wendy, is there, and she kind of boldly declares to Josh and Eli how he's going to be a campaigner like Chris Packham, I think, and we see sort of later on he's written a letter to David Attenborough, and he's very active. But yeah, she says he's going to be, he wants to do this when he grows up. But Josh knows that Sam, in fact, only has a year to live. And his mum Wendy is hiding that from him.
That's a really tough.
Yeah, when Josh tells Eli not to let on to Sam that he's terminally ill. Clearly, sort of supporting the move, but Eli sort of realizes in that moment that this is the first time Josh has treated a life-limited child. So, Eli worries about how Josh will be able to cope with all that, with dealing with this patient while battling his own issues with bulimia, obviously, that's sort of come out in recent weeks. Josh totally assures him, no, I can handle it. Except then when it's revealed that Sam could have less time than everyone thought, Josh completely flips out. He's got this 11-year-old boy in front of him, and who he knows just wants to save the world. And it's just like all this good that this kid could do, and he's perhaps not going to be with us for much longer. The whole campaign, or when we talk about climate change generally, it's all about protecting our children's future. And you have this 11-year-old who's trying to protect a future that he's not going to see. Sort of wanting to help both himself internally, Josh, and obviously the boy. He kind of throws his energies into, rather than make a poster, just a poster, he wants to make sort of Sam the poster boy, Holby's poster boy for the campaign. And it's really sweet, actually. I won't. There's quite a spoiler towards the end. A special thing that obviously the BBC have done to promote the issue, shall we say, by getting various people involved in this episode of Holby. So that's interesting. I'll let viewers wait and see about that. But I suppose back to the main crux of the storyline, I guess there's obviously a question mark though about how this case, such a powerful case, what impact this will or might have on Josh's bulimia, and it's safe to say he's not coping well at all.
No, it's going to bring him down further. Yeah. Wow, on that very positive high note.
Sorry. It is a really good episode, and like I said, there is a real lightness towards the sort of, as that sort of storyline wraps up, if you like. It's actually really, really sweet, and viewers will love it.
Lovely. Thank you, Victoria.
This is the Casualty episode, postponed from Saturday the 16th of October.
And we're going to now move to Casualty, which we know lots about. But this week features two of your favourite doctors, I believe, Claire.
It does. I'm allowed to have favourites. And I've got a soft spot for both of these, Hannah, big soft spot. So I'm going to talk first of all about Dylan. Now, I know Dylan doesn't have great people skills, let's be honest. I'm not sure he has any people skills, but he's currently acting clinical lead after Connie left. And I'll be honest with you, Hannah, it's not a job he's really enjoying. So Hanson gets Charles Miss Case to offer Dylan the full-time role, and he declines it. He says, no, I'm not doing this. I don't know why, Hannah, because quite frankly, he has a very nice office, and I think that office comes with an executive washroom.
I'd be saying yes.
Yes, I would say yes with an executive washroom, wouldn't you?
What's not to love?
I don't think they should give people, bonuses. I think they should give them the key to the executive washroom. I think that's a lot more. It's worth a lot more, isn't it?
It is. It definitely is.
So he says no. He just doesn't want to do it. It's too much hassle. There's it's a lot to organise. It's a busy ED department. But then he sees Stevie, who we know has it in for Ethan because of what happened to her sister Emma, trying to get the dirt on Ethan. Now Dylan knows that Stevie doesn't like Ethan. What he doesn't know is why. So and will he step up and accept the job to protect his friend Ethan? We'll have to wait and see, because because Stevie is second in line to get the job, and if Stevie got the job, she would make Ethan's life hell.
Yeah, exactly. Watch this space. And it's not the only thing going on, is there, in Casualty this week? Because a couple of weeks ago we saw Rash get in over his head with his best friend's sister, Hafsa, because she told him that she was a youth worker when instead she was actually a drug gang recruiter. I mean, honestly, you couldn't make this up, could you?
You couldn't.
But this week she turns up at Rash's house and asks him to take in Rayan, who is between placements. But there's a twist here, isn't there? Not a twist, but then something happens.
Yes. So we all know that Hafsa isn't who she says she is, and that she's quite cold and calculating and evil, I would even say. And she's got Rayan, and he is one of her drug gang, one of these kids, young teenagers that she's using to run drugs. And so she just says he's between placements, and can Rash take him? I mean, and Rash is put on the spot a bit, and he says yes. He doesn't know this guy. I mean, he could rob him blind. He could do all sorts of things.
Yeah, of course he could. Of course he could. I mean, it's just madness.
Rash says, hey, I've got to go into work. Here are the keys to the flat. And Rayan says, oh, well, I've got to go out anyway, because Hafsa's just called him and says, you need to meet me down by the railway station. And he's later stabbed Rayan, and so Hafsa and Rayan get back to Rash's house and say, you must help us, and Rash says, well, I can't help you here, we need to do this and this, because he's bleeding profusely, Hannah. Yeah, I know.
It's not one for me, is it, Claire? This episode.
I need to do a scan on him, because this could have, the knife could have pierced all sorts of things. So they get him to the hospital, and Rash again agrees to lie and not tell the police. And later we see Hafsa make a call and she says, we've got a doctor in our pocket.
That's a bit of a cliffhanger right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to leave you, folks. That's it. Until next week. I'm afraid. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it is. We will be back, and we will tell you what's happening next.